Hey folks, I'm going to show you how to wash a trailer. This will apply to RVs as well. It doesn't have to be a trailer, but for about 13 years I did this professionally. We used to have a mobile setup in the back of a truck, pickup truck, just like this. Right now I just use it for towing, but we used to have a mobile setup in the back of a truck, and we had a pressure washer set up with all the hoses, soap, brushes, everything we needed. And we used to drive around to the RV parks and we used to wash all the RVs and the trailers. I've been retired from that for a few years now, but I've got a trailer, and now that I make videos on YouTube, I thought I would share some of what I used to do with you guys, and little tricks of the trade now as a homeowner, how to use a little homeowner pressure washer and wash your trailer. So this is the trailer. This is the pressure washer. I picked this up at Costco. As far as homeowner pressure washers go, this one is really great. It's got an automatic start, on-off switch here. This is the Subaru EA190V, and it spits out 2.4 gallons a minute and 3,100 psi. Now, when it comes to washing your trailer, you don't need 3,100 psi. In fact, when it comes to washing almost anything, you don't need 3,100 psi. When it comes to pressure washers, your cleaning happens with the gallons per minute. So when you have those little, when you see those little tiny electric machines that have a 1.2 gallon per minute, those aren't going to do a whole lot for you. They go really slowly because you don't have very much gallons per minute coming out of that doing the washing. So this is kind of a happy medium, 2.4 gallons per minute. I've been really happy with it. I've had it for a few years now, and I use it for all kinds of stuff. So if you're looking to pick up a pressure washer, can't go wrong with this, but definitely look for high gallons per minute. That will make your washing go a lot quicker. It's a lot easier to flush away dirt and soap and grime with high gallons per minute, and you can do it from farther away too. You really don't need all the psi that this thing has available to it. Now that psi also is right out of the gun, so the farther away you get, the lower the psi that's actually hitting the surface of the material. So tools that I use for washing the trailer here, this came with a soap dispenser, but I haven't really used it because I've got this nifty tool here. I hook this on the end of my gun, and this is a foam cannon. It's a foam cannon. I picked it up on Amazon. I will put a link to this in the description, but you can see you can adjust it here to get a wider nozzle. It'll spit out more soap in a thicker spray, and in this it thins down the spray, makes it more wider, and I tend to use it in this area, and you're going to see how that works. But that is a way to spit a lot of soap onto this thing right away. Now today it's really cloudy, which is awesome. It's a great time to wash your RV because you don't have to worry about it drying in the sun. You don't need to worry about the soap drying in the sun. One of the hardest things is to take the time to get the soap on the vehicle and then scrub it and then rinse it off before the soap dries. You usually don't notice if you didn't get to it in time until everything's dry and you can see the soap that had dried on the vehicle. It does not just rinse off. You have to scrub it off. So we're going to use a combination of the pressure washer to get the trailer wet, soap it, but then we got to use a brush. So over here we've got my bucket. I'm going to make a new bucket of water here because this has been sitting in here for a while after the kids used it to wash the van a few weeks ago. You can see all this grime that I've got stuck in the brush head. That's not good, so I'm going to rinse all of that out too before I start to use this. You want to make sure you have a clean brush head, and I've got a handle that I got to put on here too. But you want to make sure you have a clean brush head so that it's not going to scratch your paint. That will definitely happen if you have any sorts of little bits of rocks. So one of the things I had to teach my kids right away is When you set the brush head down, you always set it down in the bucket, or if you set it down on the driveway, you set it down brush up. If you set it down this way, you're gonna get little rocks in that brush and you're not gonna be happy because they're very hard to clean out. So I'm gonna get that ready to go, and then what we do is we'll soap up the trailer, scrub it with the brush, and then we'll rinse it with the pressure washer. And part of the technique is how you do the rinsing with the pressure washer. So keep an eye out for that at the end. The main thing is we want to avoid pushing soap that we're trying to rinse off of the trailer. We want to avoid pushing it onto the roof where it'll run down later and leave streaks. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that somebody can make, is pushing soap up onto the roof. I'm also going to clean the roof too. So we start on the roof, work our way down, just go around, show you. It's not too dirty, although I haven't washed it in at least a year, and but it's not too bad. The front of it's pretty dirty. You can see a lot of dirt here around the front. That's because the downspout runs off there, and then of course you can see the front pretty dirty, and here where our propane tanks go, pretty dirty. So we're going to clean all of this up, and it's going to look great when we're done. Now you may catch glimpses of this when I'm up on the roof or as I'm walking around, but you can see here, that's where our current project is. We're going to be putting a pool, an above ground pool, into the ground. We dug around it. You can check that video out. I'll put a link to it up here if you're interested in seeing that project. And let's get started cleaning the trailer.
It's always helpful to have an on-off valve at the end of your hose before you connect to your pressure washer. These screw-type connectors for the quick connects are what you find on most homeowner pressure washers. I really like them. They take a little bit longer to screw on than other quick connect types, but they're very durable and they don't stick.
Before you hook your gun on, turn on the hose and clear the air out of the hose. So once the water comes out and you can see that it's not spitting out any more air, then you're ready to put your gun on. The reason we do this is if you have a bunch of air in the hose, it's going to spit and sputter, and it's going to take you a while until you get it all out through the little tiny opening at the end of the pressure washing gun. So the end of your pressure washing gun, you can see, is a very small hole. It takes a while to push all the water that's in your hose out, and thus if you have air in the hose, it takes a long time to get that out too. So if you're ready, if you want to get started and spraying at full power right away without having to wait for that, you do this method. So your hose is ready to go, pressure washer is ready to go. Okay, so I've got my brush head cleaned out. I'm about to fill up my bucket, but I wanted to let you know, most of these home pressure washers come with 50 feet of hose. If you're gonna need to get up on your roof and wash your RV, 50 feet is not gonna be enough unless you wanna have your pressure washer right at the back of your rig, right where the ladder's at, and even still, you may not quite get enough. So get a second hose. 100 feet of hose is ideal. Always straighten it out before you get started. You don't want to have it all coiled up where you got to fight with it as you're trying to wash. The other thing you're going to want is a bungee cord. This one is an adjustable type bungee cord, so I can shorten it or lengthen it as needed. You're going to want to put this if you wash your roof, because you're going to climb up on your roof and you're going to take that hose up there. So when you do that, as you pull your hose up onto the roof and you start to drag it across, these hoses will grab all of the gravel off the ground, and it can end up scratching your trailer. or your RV, especially if you have a painted corner surface up there. If it's painted, you could definitely scratch the heck out of it. Not only that, but that hose will sit right there on the edge and it'll vibrate. And that vibration is very abrasive and it can wear away your paint. So that's where the bungee cord comes in handy. You take your bungee cord and you wrap it right at the top of the ladder. And you want it tight enough that your hose is going to rest on that bungee cord. So we're going to pull it up. We're going to use this bungee cord to take the abrasive away from it and to keep it up off of this corner so that you don't scratch your trailer. You want to make sure that you fill your pressure washer with gas before you get up on top of your RV. You don't want to be up on top when it runs out. You want to have lots of foam in your bucket. The foam allows you to more easily see where you've scrubbed on the trailer, and it also keeps the soap stuck to the trailer in one spot for longer.
Don't try and carry everything up all at once like I did. Save that for the professionals. People can and do fall off of these things every year. It's not worth the few seconds that you end up saving. If you can get an assistant to help you start and stop the pressure washer from the ground, that will help quite a bit.
Okay, turn it to the green then.
Be very careful on these roofs. They can get very slick, especially after you put soap on them. My roof is a rubber roof. I actually get really good traction on it, so you're going to see me move around with ease. One thing you'll notice is that I try not to stand very close to the edge. It's one of those things where it's just not worth the risk. So you leave yourself a little bit of space, just in case. Something to remember when using a pressure washer with your trailer or RV is that the pressure washer doesn't do most of the cleaning. So we start by soaping everything up. You've got to let the soap sit and work on the dirt, and then we'll come by with a brush to manually try and knock the dirt off. And there's going to be a few surfaces that we will use the pressure from the pressure washer to clean. But for the most part, you're just going to be using the pressure washer as an efficient way to apply the soap and to rinse it off of the RV in the direction that you would like it to go.
Something to remember, you don't leave your pressure washer running for more than 10 to 20 seconds without using it. You don't want to pop the trigger either, pulling it and letting it go really quickly. So you pull it, let it run for a few seconds, and then you can set it down again for another few seconds. The reason we do this is while the trigger is not pulled and there's no water running through it, it circulates in that pump and it gets hotter and hotter, and it's going to burn out the pump unless you pull that trigger and it flushes cold water through it. So when I grab my brush and I start scrubbing, I think about, I got 10 seconds to scrub and then I'm gonna go pull the trigger.
I always like to start by soaping and scrubbing over the front edge of the trailer. This is the area that is the hardest hit by bugs and bug guts when you're driving. So it tends to be the hardest to clean. So when I soap it and scrub it, I'm giving it a first pass. When I get down on the ground, we're going to end up soaping and scrubbing it again from that side. And by that time, the soap's had a long time to work on those bugs and it tends to come off a lot easier. You'll notice that I use the pressure washer for cleaning the plastic surfaces around any of the protrusions that come up and on a lot of the caulked areas. Anywhere where there could be moss or mildew growing, the pressure washer is the tool for getting that done quickly. Another thing you'll notice is that I can brush pretty fast, but when I get near the protrusions, I slow down. If you slam that brush into those plastic pieces, they can and will break. While you're on the roof, you'll want to take the time to reach over the edge and clean out your gutters. They can get very dirty and clogged with stuff throughout the wintertime, and you cannot clean them from the ground unless you're going to get on a ladder and do it by hand. When I have to spray near my brush, I put my foot on it because you can easily blow it right off of the roof if you're not careful. Before you get off the roof, do a final pass, making sure you got everything rinsed and double checking that there's no moss or mildew that you've missed. You don't want any soap on the roof when you finish. You'll notice that the joints, the plastic pieces, and the caulking have all been cleaned. The roof is clean, but it still looks spotty. You don't need to get all those spots off of the rubber roof for it to be clean. If you use too much pressure on it, you could damage the roof. The safest and quickest way to get your pressure washer off the roof is to lower it with the hose like this, and then reach out and drop the rest of the hose away from the trailer. Then remove your bungee cord and head down with the rest of your tools. We always start the next sections by soaping everything up. Now remember, it's a cloudy day. I can soap the front and the sides without having to worry about it drying ahead of time. And the soap is just going to continue to work while it sits there until I get to it to scrub. This is the best way to really get that dirt that's been sitting on this trailer for the last year. It's the best way to get it to loosen up. Remember while you're scrubbing to not let that machine sit there and cycle without running the cold water through it. We want to do that every 10 to 20 seconds. You'll notice I go along the top of the trailer with my brush head first. I do this because when you scrub up and down, your bristles can flick soap up onto the roof. So you don't want to scrub up and down until you get a little bit below the top edge of the roof. These plastic covers for the propane tanks are easily cleaned with just the pressure from the pressure washer. and you can do it safely without damaging them. One of the keys when cleaning with the pressure washer itself is to make sure that you get the right angles. You have to tilt and turn the gun in order to make sure that you get around each corner and into each nook and cranny. Notice when I start to rinse the high part, I reach my hand way up high and I try and have the pressure washing wand as horizontal as I can. This helps to ensure that I'm not going to push the soap that's right up near the top up onto the roof. I'm trying to push it towards the back of the trailer at this time.
Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette.
Next to the front door there, you see the refrigerator and the freezer vents. You'll want to make sure that you rinse these off at as much of a downward angle as you can, and where you can't do a downward angle, do a sideways angle. You don't want to push water up inside any of the vents. Again, we're going to start by soaping up these two sides. This foam cannon is amazing.
We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are here.
And check out the handiwork. Nice and clean. Now it did happen to monsoon on me in the middle of that, so everything's still wet. Nothing had a chance to dry. I was able to run the machine without, or I was able to turn off the machine and wash without having to worry about any of the soap drying.
I'll answer questions in the comments section below. Be sure to give me a like and subscribe if you found value in today's video.
That's it. Bye for now.